So you see a lot of conversation, it's so polarizing, the relationships between white and black people in the area of dating. Both communities, let's call it what it is, both communities really don't like it. Both communities really don't support it as a whole. Some in both communities say, hey, live and let live, do you, but let's call it what it is. It wouldn't be a polarizing conversation, even still in 2024. Even in the era of people saying there's 100 different genders. Yes, I know. I've seen somebody say that on a news report, 100 different genders. But yet they are still polarized by this particular relationship. Now, there's a white lady in this video that's going to talk about, because, some people ask, how can a person, part of the folks community, don't like black people but go lay up with one? How can that happen? Well, this particular white lady is going to kind of touch on some of the signs you can tell they really don't like black people but still laid up with one.
The number one way to tell that a white woman is racist in an interracial relationship with a black man is that she doesn't have not one friend that's a black woman. And I'm not even talking just true friend, like that's obvious too, but I'm talking that she probably don't even have a black woman as an acquaintance. She probably doesn't even with the black women she works with. This white woman is very set on specifically only with black men. The next thing that gives this away is the way that they always talk about how they want biracial babies or black babies on the contingency that those black babies have biracial features. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it rubs me, sorry, there's something in my throat. It rubs me the wrong way when they specifically talk about, I want biracial babies. Your babies are going to be perceived as black. You need to understand that if you bring biracial babies into the world in America, a lot of, especially racist white people, are going to perceive your babies as black because they're not fully white. So specifically always saying, I want biracial babies, why can't you just say black? Does that make sense? Maybe I'm wrong there. You guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's giving something weird, like your babies are going to be black. They're going to be perceived as black. Why are you grasping on to the little bit of whiteness that they're going to have when that's not how they're going to be perceived? They have racist tendencies towards other races besides just the specific black man they're dating. And the reason why they're dating this specific black man, in my opinion, is this very specific type of black man makes it his whole personality to hate black women. And these white women are so insecure that they feel like they can't compete in their own white community. I don't like the way that sounds, but they can't compete against other white people anyways, you know what I'm trying to say, I hope. But so they go after these black men to compete with black women. And then they both bond over this weird hatred that they have for black women. That also ties into why they're not friends with black women, which I said in the beginning.
Now, the last thing, in my opinion, got me more than anything when she talked about that they're bonding with these men based on their disdain for black women. Just like they have the female that bond with white men on their disdain for black men. First of all, to me, that's weird. It's weird because why are you discussing people who aren't in the room with you? Why are you bonding on some hatred? That's kind of silly. Now, in the area of the women, she's right. Some of those women can't stand black women, can't stand them. But this is the thing. They have a baby with this black man who got self-hate himself. At least in some of the issues, not all, but some, have a baby with this woman, and then it's a girl. I've seen so many different stories where their white mothers call them the N-word because they don't like their daughters because they view them as black. Now, she mentioned about, biracial baby. Yeah, because they fetishize that. That's a fetish. So if their child come out looking more black, that's a problem. That's a major problem with people like that. My thing is, if you don't like black people, male or female, why are you laying up with one? But this is the same group of people that was laying up with slaves too during the plantation era, and they didn't like them. They look at them as, ways of pleasure or validate them, right? But they don't like them. The slave master used to sell off his own son, his own daughter to another plantation. He used to do that. You would think in your mind, why would you want to sell off your own children? That doesn't make sense. But in the mind of a slave master, it made perfect sense. This is why you see so many. And I remember I interviewed a young lady by the name of Kiera Lawhon. Now, Kiera, during that 6 years ago, I interviewed her on our African Diaspora News channel. And her mother disowned her for supporting Colin Kaepernick. And even, she said, she ended up calling her the N-word. Her own white mother. Because her white mother couldn't stand Colin Kaepernick for what he was doing. You know, at the time, Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee and all of that, right? The young lady interviewed with us on the platform and was just telling that story. And it was something that she couldn't believe that her mother was doing, but her mama basically didn't like black people the whole time, because usually when they have that black daughter, whoo, that's when it comes out of them. It really do. But hopefully, you know, and let's just keep it 100. The majority of black people, male or female, is not laying up with white people. They're not. And a lot of them, if they are dealing with people outside the community, you know, you may see them go to even the passport bros, right? Where they going? Latin America. They're not going to Europe. Where are they going? Asian countries. Some of them are going to African countries, right? They're not going to no European countries like that, the passport bros themselves. So that's really not the choices like that. Some people, I guess, get with them for whatever reason, but to me, the culture is too polar opposite. And then how I've always looked at it when it comes to, you know, European people and their history and things like that with us as black people, in particular, those issues going to come up in that relationship. Like, how would you deal with you as a black man going through some racism, and then you're going to come home and tell your lady about it? How would that really work? And she never experienced racism a day in her life. At least if you got with someone, let's say outside the community, and they dealt with some form of racism, maybe they can relate to it in some way, shape, or form, right? But and then if you go in about the folks, well, you gotta remember, that's still part of her community. Her father is white, right? Her brothers are white. Her uncles are white. Her grandpa are white, right? So you going in on them, she may feel some sort of way about it. Even if she understand why you're doing it, she still may feel a certain kind of way about that. You know what I'm saying? I've seen stories of black women be with white men, and they go through some racism, and they're trying to minimize it and all of that. You remember the famous interview with Dr. Laura, where a black woman was calling about her dude and sitting up there saying his friends saying the N-word all day, and how she minimized and said what she said on that platform. That's why Dr. Laura lost her show. Dismissing that. You know, I always said that I ain't got that kind of time. I don't have that kind of time to be dealing with those issues and problems. No. But do you at the end of the day? That's your business. That's your life. I can't control nothing. I'm not going to control anything. I'm not Dr. Umar. I ain't about to be just featuring that stuff all the time. But the reason why I talked about this today is because this woman here, she's part of their community. You know, and yes, ma'am, you have a community. She's part of that community. And she's telling you what to look out for. And that's what I think sometimes she has more weight to talk about that in the area of her people than maybe what Dr. Umar would be trying to analyze them, because he's not from their community. Now, he can analyze black people, but he's not from their community. It's just that simple. So, you know, but once again, I'm going to touch on this once again. The majority of black people are with black people, and that's just globally.